Hey everybody, Objectively Dan here. Before the Greek mathematician Eratosthenes, I don't think I said that right, but it was a common belief that the Earth was flat, but he was trying to dispel this notion around 245 BCE. However, the idea of a flat Earth lived on even after that. One of them is from the Universal Zetetic Society in the late 1800s that put this idea out here, and even more recently with the Flat Earth Society, which traces its roots back to 1956. Now, since the dawn of the internet, of course, the idea started to spread again. And today there are dozens of content creators pushing the idea of a flat Earth, disregarding, of course, any evidence to the contrary. They're still gaining thousands of followers. And one estimate even states that almost 4% of all Americans believe in a flat Earth. So I got to ask you guys, do you believe in a flat Earth? And if so, you should give a call to the show because it is starting right now. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host, Objectively Dan. This is the live call-in show that happens every single week, Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And if you'd like to call us, you can do that. It's at 512-991-9242 or through your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. Truth Wanted is, of course, a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And every single week, I always try to have a special guest. This week is no different. Eli Slack is joining me today. Eli,
hey,
welcome
Dan.
to Truth Wanted.
Thank you, sir.
Cool.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm excited. I'm glad to be here.
That's great. Yeah. The two-party system is fine and not busted at all. And there's no problems in this country whatsoever, actually. I think everything is just fine and dandy. And we have nothing but hope to look forward to in the coming year ahead, wouldn't you say?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the same thing. Hey, here's a little bright spot. Everybody knows who watches this show. Sydney Davis Jr. Shout outs to her. Send me this in the mail. Let's see if I can get this on camera. Look, she gave me a little Truth Wanted bracelet.
Very cool.
As a little belated engagement gift. So shout out to Sydney for that. She also gave me another one that says tall ass vegan on it, which is also pretty good. So thanks, Sydney, for those. I got some custom merch. And on that note, actually, we do have some new merch in the store. I might show that on screen later, but cool stuff to show you guys with that. But yeah, I'm here today with Eli Slack. Eli, welcome to the show. If you could describe yourself and who you are in one sentence, how'd you do it?
In one sentence?
Yeah, one sentence. You only get one.
I am a strange dude.
All right. Well, okay. I'll give you more sentences than that because I'm not sure if that's sufficient, but go ahead.
So I started hosting nonprofits back in December. I've done a few of those, had a great time. I don't know if they needed somebody to fill in today, but like last week, producers were like, hey, are you available? And I said, I can be. So here I am.
But you hadn't been on the show before, so we had to make that connection. So there you go. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know, Nonprofits is another show produced by the atheist community of Austin. So we're all about the flagship show of the atheist community of Austin. We're all about the cross promo here. I've been doing that for a little while. So Eli gets his shot today. So show him some love in the chat because we will be showing chat stuff on screen. We do have the chat integration going, including super chats. So if you send a super chat, we'll of course put that on screen and read it out loud as long as it's YouTube appropriate, of course. But for now, Eli, we have to do our truth. We want the truth segment, right? Because every single week we are asking you guys a question or a prompt. And last week we asked you, complete the sentence. Aliens wouldn't abduct me because blank. And so here are our favorite answers for that. Number 3 comes from Stoned Sasquatch, who says, aliens wouldn't abduct me because they brought me here to begin with, which is a really good mission. Yeah.
No, we're not taking you back. Back to what you were there for.
Yeah, exactly. Which is awesome coming from an account called Stoned Sasquatch. By the way, I did some like some Bigfoot digging stuff the other day. I don't know why. I don't know what propelled me, but I did. The Wikipedia article for Bigfoot is like one of the longest articles on Wikipedia that I've seen. Did you know this? It is
No, I didn't.
huge. It is
That's hilarious.
gigantic. I can't believe they allowed it to be that big, honestly. It'll take you like a solid 10 minutes or something to get through it all. It's
But
kind
like
of
how well cited is it, or how well?
It's very well cited. It's just
really?
yeah. Well, okay. I say Bigfoot. It's mostly talking about the 1970s footage. Oh gosh, the name escapes me. Specifically, I think the page for that footage is the one. The you know what I'm talking about, the one where they walk in the woods. The name escapes me now. But yeah, that's the page that I was looking at, and it's huge. There's so much to that.
That's
footage.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I knew a little bit about the story, but there's a lot of lore to that. So I don't know, and maybe some Bigfoot believers. It's been a while since we've talked to some Bigfoot folks can call in, because we do have open lines right now. The Patterson Gimlin film. That's what it is. The Patterson Gimlin film. Thank you, crew, for putting that in the chat for me. Yeah, I forgot. I was reading the page for that. Crazy. Anyway, let's get back to our segment here. So yeah, complete the sentence. Aliens wouldn't abduct me because. Next one's coming from Kelly Laughlin 392 WWTT. I haven't been abducted by aliens because I have nothing interesting in my anus. Yeah. All right, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for that one. Did you pick the ones for this week? I didn't pick the answers. Okay, he's saying no. So somebody else picked your answer and put it in the top 3. That's insane. That's insane, Kelly.
I don't believe it. Not to elaborate on Kelly's answer.
I think Kelly did the top 3 this week, and I think he's lying to me. I think he wanted to put his own in there. He's shaking his head, but I think I know the truth. So anyway, probably not though. Kelly, that's a good one. All right, Benjamin Costello is our number 1 this week though, and they said aliens wouldn't abduct me because I probe back. You guys had some zingers this week. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good.
It's a good number 1.
This is a good week this week. I'm proud of my comment section, and yes, I'm proud of you too, Kelly. Good job. But seems a little biased if we put you in the top 3. Okay, but anyway, the prompt this week is going to be what not to say when you're firing someone. What not to say. Okay, not what you should say. What not to say when you're firing someone. So, Eli, do you have an idea about the prompt for this one? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to play this out a little. All right.
Okay. All right.
So, of course, please understand this is just a business decision. Also, I'm still going to need rides if you could be available to take me to and from.
That's the worst. I love reading the stories from people who are like, yeah, my job fired me, but they actually needed me. So I charged them as like a, an not contract. What is it? Oh, consultant. Yeah. I charged them as a consultant for like 3 times my pay or whatever. I love stories like
that.
Awesome. Those are always really good.
I love it when they get back.
Yeah. But so anyway, if you have a good idea for this one, leave a comment below and you might get into the top 3 for this week. So thank you to everybody who gave your comments here. But yeah, Eli, so you are a host of the Nonprofits. How did you get started with that?
I basically just filled out the volunteer application, and then the producers messaged me, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, it's super easy." I wanted to host, so I was like, "That's what I'd like to do." I thought that they wouldn't want more hosts; they would have me do something else. But they're like, "Well, you want to go on Nonprofits first, and then maybe something else later." I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
here I am."
Yep. Turns out, that's how we get a lot of hosts and a lot of folks that work in the crew is just through our volunteer form. So anybody that's interested in that, it is on the ACA website. So definitely check that out. But yeah, you've been liking it. What y'all been talking about on there?
Oh, nonprofits, mostly like the governor of Florida. We talk about a lot. The superintendent and governor of Oklahoma in the news recently. A lot of we talk about different new things in the news and different current events and talk about them from a secular perspective and how basically like a lot of violations of church and state separation is a big topic over on the Nonprofits.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, that's one of the interests for the atheist community of Austin, so that definitely makes sense, of course. So yeah, anybody who hasn't
Absolutely.
checked out the show, you probably should. If you like Kelly's on there quite a bit, so definitely take a look at that. We did a poll question today, though, Eli, and this one's a little bit out of our norm, kind of, sort of. I was wondering if AI should be regulated, right? What do we do with AI to prevent its misuse? I think this is a really hot topic. And like, how does it relate to Truth Wanted? Well, because I am interested in conspiracies. I am interested in people with alternative ideas about reality. And I think AI is, if it doesn't already do this, will do this. Like, it will give people alternative ideas of what is happening about reality. I think there's going to be conspiracy theories, more conspiracy theories about how the world is working thanks to AI. It's already happening. There's already people out there. You can see this if you go on Twitter, right, who say, oh, like the things that they're seeing are fake news, right, or is AI generated, because we do have a limited capacity, but a capacity to fake a lot of stuff, especially with voices, right? And of course, video footage now. Of course, OpenAI is going to be releasing its tool. I think it is released in like a beta state for certain artists and creators, but will probably eventually be made for the public to make full-fledged AI video from nothing. Right, basically. I mean, obviously it's trained on sources, right? But it's just from a prompt from our end, right? So I think this is like a big deal, right? I just think that something should probably be done about it, but I don't know. I mean, have you thought a lot about this?
Not a whole lot. I have been thinking about it since you mentioned it earlier. And the idea of like, you could make a deep fake video of like somebody committing a crime, and then now you have to rely on somebody's ability to determine a real video from an AI video, and like the better it gets, the harder it's going to be to do that. So at what point does it start to become a problem where like bad things are happening? Yeah, it's kind of definitely worth
in case you
monitoring.
guys, I kind of talked about this like a few months ago, I think, at this point. But the tool I'm talking about specifically is OpenAI Sora, who, I mean, is able to, again, just generate pretty realistic looking stuff out of a prompt. Like, if you look at it real hard, yeah, like you can tell it's AI. But like some of the stuff that at least they showed in their example footage, like one of them was a van like driving down the side of a mountain. If I was just scrolling, I wouldn't even think twice about it being real. It just kind of looked like drone footage from like behind a car or something. So like, the tools are only going to get better at this point, right? This is the worst they're ever going to be, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know. How do we combat that as a society? Should we combat it? Should we regulate this in some way? I don't know. But I think it is going to affect people's idea of what's true. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's like I said, it's worth monitoring for sure. And it's already, like you said, it's already hard to tell sometimes, and it's not going to get worse. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. We have open lines right now, folks. So if you want to talk to us about a topic, it doesn't have to be AI, it doesn't have to be Bigfoots or flat Earth. You know what we talk about on here. Come ahead, go on and call into the show, because I would love to hear your thoughts about this. But otherwise, yeah, as far as current events goes, I did see people saying even about the presidential debate that happened last night that it was just so bad and so just off-putting and jarring that it seemed like it was AI, and I wish it was. I honestly wish it could be, but I don't think that's the world that we live in, unfortunately.
Come out and be like, just kidding, it was AI, and then do a real one.
No, the world's actually better than what you think it is. Yeah.
But then it's worse, and we're like, give us the AI version back.
Yeah, Yeah, that's another thing too, because like what it may not be just like truth of the world, right? Obviously, I'm worried about like real fake news and stuff like that, right? But like, what about like movie industries that can just, I don't know, what's gonna happen when you can generate an entire movie just for whatever you want? Well, how is that going to affect people making things? I don't know. There's just so many things that are just kind of a nightmare to think about, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. Like, how did that changes the way like advertising, TV, movies, like all types of entertainment, radio, like it changes all kinds of things.
Yeah. I mean, there's over 200 episodes of Truth Wanted now, I think, something along those lines.
You're the expert.
Well, I've been on most of them, right? That's enough footage to make a Truth Wanted AI of me. Like that's just out there now. Unless the ACA decides to shut down access to the public on the channels. I mean, maybe they've got somebody else has recordings, but like that's possible now. I've kind of just unwittingly submitted myself to AI, unless there's some sort of regulation that says, hey, you can't take from such and such source, right? But how enforceable couldn't that be in the long run?
You said so many words, man. They could like put any sentence together.
It's true.
With your voice.
It's true. And there's so much footage of just me talking about anything. That's terrifying, honestly.
You're like,
I don't know,
man, you set yourself up. You're like, give me a show where I can talk about whatever I want. And then you did it.
It's true. It's a good thing I'm not like a particularly important person in society, because that would, cause real world problems. But now I think the biggest problem is, I've embarrassed myself in the internet, which I don't know.
Right.
That's it's whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, weird times we're living in, Eli. Right. Weird times for sure. We do have some callers that are calling in though. You want to talk to some folks?
Yeah, let's talk to some folks, man.
All right, let's do it. So before we do that, we have to thank the patron of the week. Every single week, we're always giving a shout out to the folks on the Patreon that donate to the show. I don't get that money. Eli doesn't get that money. That money goes to the atheist community of Austin, and it shows them that, hey, Truth Wanted is a show that's worth supporting. So this week's patron of the week is going to be I Heart Dogs. I Heart Dogs. So thank you, I Heart Dogs, for donating, and thank you to everybody for donating in the past and in the future as well. You guys rock. Yeah.
Time travel. Marty McFly.
Some Marty McFly stuff. I'm just covering my bases, for all planes of linear time. I think. But yeah, let's get down to it. We have Niro, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Niro calling in from Tennessee. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, Dan. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Doing good, Niro. What do you want to talk to us about today?
Well, you wanted to talk about conspiracy theories, especially around AI, and I've got one. So there's a type of AI bot called a crawler. That basically, they send out and it collects information, and it can even be used to create web pages, hundreds of web pages a day. And what I suspect has been happening, I know there's a massive flood of Christian biased information regarding anything biblical. I think there's probably going to be a lot of use of crawlers to try and spawn as many websites to basically build propaganda.
Okay, that's an interesting idea. So this is more like a speculation, more than a conspiracy theory, right? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And I think it's going to be pretty accessible. I mean, pretty much some of the richest groups out there are going to be religiously affiliated organizations, so it shouldn't be anything financially problematic for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, I am not an expert on these things. I know web crawlers exist. I know their basic functionality, right, which is to take information that can be found through search engines and stuff, right, and then collecting it in various ways. I could definitely see how, you combine that with an AI that can create websites based on what it sees. I guess, like, you have to register web domains and stuff, right? So, like, I don't know how automated you can make that part of the process. I suppose you can. I don't know. I don't really buy web domains. I say that I do have, I think if you go to ObjectivelyDan.com, it does go to my YouTube. I think that was set up a few years ago, that my fiance set up for me, actually. So that's the thing. Go to ObjectivelyDan.com to see more of me, baby. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I could see that happening. Yeah, that's kind of scary. What do you think, Eli?
I hadn't thought about it. Like, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about AI. I use it a lot. I talk to it, but I I can definitely see. I'm not familiar with like web crawlers at all. I'm completely in the dark here about what you guys are talking about. So I'm kind of just listening, but it's definitely I saw somebody in the chat said, this isn't a conspiracy. Here, I'm going to pop it up here. This isn't a conspiracy. This is actually happening.
Are people doing this right now? Like using, I mean, I know web crawlers again, and like you can build AI for websites, but like combining the two, is that happening? I've never heard of it. If it has, I don't know. That'd be news to me.
I'm not familiar.
I've seen it in use. The one company got sued for using web crawlers, and artists had posted on their own website some of their art. And what they did was they'd gotten their fan base to basically comment, "I want this on a shirt," as many times as they could, and T-shirt advertisements started popping up with their art on it.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. Oh no. Oh no, another thing for me to worry about. That's terrible. What have you done, Nirro? Oh no. The internet has already gotten to be like a worse place, and now it could be even worse, is what you're telling me. That's great. That's great. Well, that's another thing for me to stay up and think about at night.
Fun time. You wanted the truth, Dan.
That's true. Maybe I don't want it so much anymore, guys. Go ahead, Nirro.
Bad enough. They're using that in tandem with they redirect Google search results.
Oh yeah, I'm fully ready to buy that. Bought and paid for.
Yeah. I think that's been a thing for a little bit. But yeah, it's just going to be a constant battle. Of course, like I think I know that you can change the way your website works so that it doesn't work as well with certain crawlers, but I don't know, maybe they can build better crawlers that are going against that. I don't know. I don't know enough about this particular subject to give any meaningful commentary. That's the problem with this one. You know, the secret to sounding smart or knowledgeable is to only talk about the things that you know about. As soon as you get outside of your field of expertise or domain, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm like, that's like I said, I'm kind of out of.
Say again?
Say that again.
Well, I will say there is one positive side is there's been discussion to implement something like a trademark or a copyright sign for websites that are approved and recognized as human run. Same thing with news articles online.
Like the verified check mark sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have heard of something like this, some sort of like token system that can like, you know, demonstrate actions or products being human generated and not through AI. I know like I know some AI generated stuff has stuff that, you know, in its I don't know. I'm speaking again outside of my.
But you know how where that's going to be seen as problematic is when people don't want to like have to register their website. You know what I mean? They don't want there to be a list somewhere of like every website that's run by a human and who runs it. You know what I mean? In order for them to verify that, like some people want to run their websites anonymously as you can. I don't know anything about it, so.
Yeah, I guess that's a concern too. I did see an AI tool that looked really cool that somebody had made, and it looked like it was just like a side thing. It didn't even look like it was a full pursuit, but it was a website that like generated itself every time you clicked on a link. Like, and if you wanted to look like YouTube, you would just like type in YouTube and it would like pull up a fake YouTube page, and you click on a link on a video and a fake YouTube video would pop up. It was really strange looking. I can't remember what it was called. I'll have to look that up again, but yeah, we don't even know how creative we can be with this stuff.
Right.
We're
like rendering like AI world in real time, basically.
Yeah, basically. That's nuts, rendering
man.
AI like generated websites in real time, and you could click through like the fake hyperlinks on the page and stuff. It was really bizarre. I think it was called like dream.io or one of these things. But anyway, Nirro, we're living in scary times. I don't know. I have no peace to give. I have no solace to bring, no comforts or joy, only worry and concern. So maybe another caller can bring all that to the table, but not me. I'm not here to deliver that. So I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. Well, was there anything else you want to add, Nirro?
At the very least, it's going to be exciting.
Well,
No, I think
exciting is a word.
Exciting is a word. Exciting is a word. Okay. Anything else you wanted to add before I let you go?
You guys.
Alrighty, sounds good, Nirro. Well, thank you for calling in.
Someone else.
We appreciate it. And thanks for giving me more stuff to worry about. It's really cool. I love that. We do have some more open lines, folks. So if anybody else wants to call in, now is definitely a time to do that. Real quickly, I'll just go ahead and get a few announcements out of the way. We are doing the Back Cruise, of course, August 24th. Forrest Valkai, J Mike, Secular Rarity, me, and Jimmy Jr. and other faces are going to be in the audience. Get your tickets, tiny.cc/Back Cruise for that here in Austin, Texas. And hey, if you are in the Austin area, there is a meetup you can check on to keep up with the community and its events. You can go to tiny.cc/ACA meetup for that. We got Philosophy Under the Stars, which is a philosophy group that meets up and talks about stuff. Also, they got game nights and more. So check that out if you haven't already. We have some weekly watch parties happening at the Free Thought Library on Sundays for live viewings of Talk Heathen and The Atheist Experience. And that's every single Sunday. So if you want to go to the building and hang out with some folks, maybe see some other hosts that are hanging out too, the doors are open at 11 and it's completely free. So come on in and have a good time with that. Last but not least, I want to thank the awesome, amazing crew that helped make this show happen every single week. And if we could go to that crew cam, there it is. Look at those handsome folks. Crew. Handsome folks that help make this show happen. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you also to Kelly for hanging out in the background here and, joining us. Maybe, you know what? We should do a 3-up, I think.
Yeah.
Right now.
Bring Kelly on. I would say Kelly is to either blame or thank, depending on your perspective, for me being here. So
there you go. Kelly, what do you have to say for yourself on that? Kelly, you're muted right now, so you should definitely think that.
See, that's the problem with being the backup host, is that you're always muted. So when you come on, you forget to unmute.
That's right.
But I had the great pleasure to work with Eli on Nonprofits, and I thought he would make a great addition to a live show. So I kind of pushed people to let him come on to here. So, and I'm glad to see him here today. I think he's doing a bang up job. So
thank you.
Good. We always say, hey, we should bring Kelly in for calls and stuff. And I'm calling it today. Kelly, you're in right now. Just to hang out with us. What's going on, Kelly? How's your week?
Yeah, my week was all right. I'm just kind of hanging out, doing much. Found a little treasure today, so I'm pretty happy. So
yeah, you want to show that off actually, because or is it not available in Reach? Because those are kind of funny looking, I think.
Yeah, I just had them here, and I don't know what I did with them. But I have a bunch of little tiny pieces of copper that came from one of the smelters up here, and they're impregnated with silver. So they're like half copper and half silver, and you can see the change in color on them.
Is that common? Is that common in the rock world to use the word impregnate for your rocks? Because
actually it is. Yeah, impregnated with. Okay. Yeah, sure. So yeah, these are really, really small though, and they're pretty rare. They only come from one place, the Frida smelter. And people used to go back 30 years ago, they would go to a lake that was right next to the smelter and they would screen them out of the lake. And apparently they're all gone now. So, and I just came across a bag of about 200 of them. So that was really, yay.
All right. Well, that was Kelly's Rock Talk. Thanks for the Kelly's Rock Talk segment, Kelly. Really appreciate it. That's very cool. We do have some open lines again, folks. So if you want to call in and talk to us, you certainly can. While we are waiting for folks to call in, we are just going to hang out and hey, we got some stuff to do. Don't worry about it. Okay. We have some voicemails I think we should listen to.
We did get a super chat a little while ago as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't read the super chat that came in early. Let me go ahead and get that going too. We got a super chat from Puck, who gave $5, and Puck is messing with me here. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure the crew will be able to get it on screen in just a second here, but it says Bob and Dobby will be a bawdy lobby, oddly bobbling blobby gobs of ball bulbs. that is crazy. I'm sure I don't know if Puck's the kind of person where he either Googled that or he completely made that up himself.
No way to tell.
I don't know what's true in that situation. But
you cannot predict the probability.
No, I can't. But thank you, Puck, for the $5 and for the craziest tongue twister I think I've ever seen. That is really wild. Okay, if crew could let me know if we have a voicemail to put on screen or a screenshot as well. If we got a comment, that would be cool to know. And maybe we can do that in just a second. Yeah. But I will
reach out. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
The mind-only school of the Shaolin. I want to tell you what made it so special. It wasn't the kung fu. It was the different fights you have to fight, keeping your sanity in the society. Your organs control your mind. That's why they call it the mind-only school. Through Chinese herbs, you can change the leather bag, the burning house, the bird cage. You can change your body for better health and to feel better in your mind. But look at all the people that turn to drugs and turn to pharmaceuticals. This is one of the mysteries of the earth, is the Chinese herbal tea to make your body feel one with the universe.
Yeah. Okay. I think that one was played on the show like a few weeks ago, but that is, I don't know who's doing this. Who's like, man, we got to get my herbal Chinese tea stuff out there. Let's get a robocaller. And that'll be our target market, I guess, is whatever we hit on voicemail.
I think that's more related to this episode than you think. I think that's an AI generation of Gary Busey. That's what I think that is, because it was either that same clip or a similar one. I just watched that episode like earlier this week, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, that sounds like Gary Busey, man.
Yeah, that I don't know. I don't know if that's actually AI, but maybe, I don't know. The world today, you never know. I don't know. People who are doing that kind of stuff still, I would think that that's not even a thing that people still do, but I guess it is. I don't know. That
soundboard prank calls.
Not even prank calls, just like advertising your business unsolicited. I don't know. It's very weird. We do have a caller waiting in the queue here, so let's go ahead and switch them. We got Mr. Krabs calling in from Maryland. Mr. Krabs, you are live on Truth Wanted. Great caller name, by the way.
Amazing.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Eli, for having me on. I do want to make one clarification because I actually have called before. And the call screener put me down as Mr. Krabs, like a SpongeBob character, but I'm from Maryland, and so it's Krabs, like
they did put a C. They did. I noticed that, and I wasn't sure if that was on purpose or not, but now I know for sure. So thank you for that, Mr. Krabs.
That was absolutely on purpose.
Okay, good.
To talk a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit on the chat poll. About AI, and while I'm far from an expert, I have been looking into it, and I actually do run models on my computer, poorly. But the thing with AI, it's almost kind of like trying to prove God, in that you need to define terms, and nobody quite gets it right.
Okay, I'm listening.
So I'm unfortunately I'm not going to be able to define terms too much right here, because that would be like a 3-hour phone call, and nobody wants that. But one thing that you need to know is that what we're seeing with ChatGPT, with Midjourney, with all these kind of creation type things that are being released to the public and being integrated into operating systems and all that, it is not AI. It is not machine learning, is another term that kind of goes in hand with what AI kind of is. Okay? So...
Okay. You're saying ChatGPT is not AI?
It's not AI. It's trying to mimic kind of like human speech and human ideas, but one of the things that they're talking about creating these models is that it's being trained, and it's being trained on copyrighted materials. It's being trained on things that we generate. And so it's not its own intelligence. It's just kind of reordering, restructuring our intelligence.
Okay, but sure. But that doesn't mean it's not AI though, right? Like my understanding is, and again, I'm a layman, but a large language model, right, where what you're talking about is gathering stuff that humans have created and stuff. It's just, I mean, that in itself is a system that an AI uses, I guess. Like that is the artificial intelligence in itself, I guess. I guess you're right. Maybe I don't know the terms enough to qualify even debating on the topic, but I that seems like exactly what AI would be, right?
It's kind of like the 1,000 or the million or the billion monkeys on the typewriter, okay? Like, where is that intelligence eventually coming from? Or are you just kind of throwing data at the wall and seeing what sticks? And so when the chat poll talked about regulation of AI, and I think that there absolutely should be. If we're going to make like an actual AI, something that can create originality. You were talking about movies. What happens if movie or TV shows are now all of a sudden created by this AI and all that? It cannot use what has necessarily come before it. It needs to create its own. Just like us over the millennia have created our own intelligence until recently, and we're just regurgitating Marvel stuff. But if we're going to have like true actual AI and call it that, then the first thing we need to do is make sure that it's not, quote unquote, trained on something that we do. We need to, you give it guiding rules, sure, but it cannot use copyrighted works. And that's where the problem is coming in right now. This music industry, this AI track sounds so very like, I've heard one where all they did was they took the lyrics for Imagine and put it on some really weird beats track that just sounded so weird, and they're passing out, oh, this is an original track. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do think we're splitting hairs a little bit here because just because the AI is taking things that already exist and transforming it, I don't think that disqualifies it from being an AI. I'm pretty sure that's still AI on some level, but let's take that fact aside. If we truly made a rule, or if we truly made a system where we said, look, we're not going to have any AIs produce anything of any copyrighted material unless it's done by the copyright owner, you have two problems. One, there's a lot of stuff that's in public domain that can still get you pretty far with doing some things. I don't know if that's a problem or not, right? But it's still makes it harder for people who are let's say you're in the business of making classical music, right? If you have models that just train on that stuff, a lot of that's just public domain anyway. So, you're still going to have a problem for some people who make stuff in the spaces, but you also have giant industries like movie industries that have tons and tons and tons of libraries of stuff that they own. Like MGM and Disney have huge libraries of stuff that they be able to train off of their own things. So, they're going to be able to make products like that still, are going to be more competitive to make than with less humans involved, right? And still have an edge in a marketplace that the average artist isn't going to be able to have, right? So I don't know. I think there's still some problems there, even if we're just it's not going to be the same thing, or we just have to make rules that kind of mitigate that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there are some rules already kind of in place when you're talking through academia, where if you write a paper and you're using some other kind of works, is that you cite your sources. Right now, AI isn't doing that, or these large language models aren't doing that. So it would solve a couple of issues, not all of them, obviously, but it would solve a couple of issues if they were actually trying to cite their sources instead of being this kind of irresponsible, high school freshman going, so this is my paper that I totally didn't plagiarize off of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I was starting to wonder kind of like what context you were thinking in, because I think like there are things that we know. Like if you think about the way that we generate language, it's basically the same. We have learned how to use language from our experience. We were trained on it throughout life, growing up, learning how to use language, and now we just use the things that we know to generate words that mean the things that we know. And that's what like ChatGPT is doing the same thing. And if you're saying something like shouldn't be using copyrighted sources to train those models, textbooks are copyrighted, like photographs are copyrighted. Like you can have like scientific journals and research papers, those aren't copyrighted, but ChatGPT doesn't get trained on research papers and scientific journals. That's an additional service you can pay for, but the standard just standard free language models don't have that. So if you're talking about a context of like creating products for like consumer commercial purposes, where like they're going to be making money off of it, I can see where you're coming from with like citing sources. But I've used like ChatGPT and the new like Google AI. I've used it to like kind of confirm my understanding about things, and I have a basic idea about how they work already, and you can just be like, hey, this is what I think, is that right? And most of the time I can get to what I later confirm to be, or like double check and be like, yeah, okay, that's a basically right answer that I got from this AI, because you had to know a little bit what you're talking about already, which is the downside, but it just takes that information that it's been trained on and just generates words that represent that information accurately, the same way we do when we speak.
Yeah, scientific papers are copyright protected, by the way.
Oh, are they?
Yes, they are.
You still have to be careful with that to some extent, because I've had a physics problem from a former school of mine that has basically kicked my ass for the past 10 years. And mostly because it's missing a variable or two to adequately answer the question. And I piped that question just recently into a number of different models that again, I'm running locally. And I essentially got two answers. One would say that, oh, well, the block at the end, and I'm not going to go through the entire question. It's just the answers were more important in this scenario. The block at the end would have a velocity of 0 meters per second. Two models agreed with that. And then the third model, which is a more up-to-date and supposedly robust model, was like, no, it's going to be 9.8 meters per second. And so you still have to be careful with that. AI, the models that we have right now, they do a thing called hallucinating. And that's what happens when a model is pushed beyond what it's actually trained to do. And so it doesn't have the ability to adapt and overcome, and it's still going to spit out an answer at you instead of saying the honest question, which many of the shows on the ACA talk about, is to say, oh, I don't know, because AI has to give us a model or an answer. Otherwise, it's an absolute failure.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds familiar.
Fair point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. We could talk about the limit. I mean, I know like a lot of people complain about this, that AI really can't do math as well as it should compared to people at the highest levels, right? But like, I don't know. I feel like we're just like we're like ranch owners who are talking about, oh yeah, these Model T cars just, they break down really easily and they don't really go super far and they don't go super fast. People are still going to be having horses forever. I feel like we're having this conversation right now where the future is so unimaginable to us at this point in time that we are just coping on some level. That's what I really think in my heart of hearts, is that like we just have to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to adapt to this new world, because we can call AI stupid all we want, but this is the worst it's ever going to be. And I keep thinking about that in my head, in even this conversation, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it can't do this or it can't do that today, because it will. Like for pretty much anything you can think of, it's going to happen, or at least some version of it, right? I don't know. Call me pessimistic.
In 100 years or less, we'll have the AI equivalent of the Cybertruck.
Yeah, it's true. True. Go ahead, Mr. Krabs.
But all that is just kind of like the surface and the visual aspect of AI. You know, your ChatGPTs, your Midjourneys. There are other AIs that have been working for us for years, decades, even.
Yeah.
You know, trying to track weather models is a form of AI that's run on supercomputers. You know, a lot of our financial transactions, unfortunately, are kind of parsed through AI different models and, you know, based upon trends and this, that, and the other thing. So we've had the, you know, different types of AI models that have been working kind of under the surface. The great YouTube algorithm is eventually going to be fully migrated over to some kind of AI model. So things like SEO or search engine optimization is just going to go completely out of the window. And some argue that it already has, now that you have that little AI blurb at the top of your Google results. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to stop there. And I've seen some videos of, you know, flat earthers trying to say, oh, look, this first Google result, which isn't a result, it's a blurb, that proves my point, and they don't bother clicking any deeper than that. So we're already kind of seeing where these algorithms are still in our daily life. They use algorithms for city planning, for building houses, to you know, we've got new untested materials. They put them through these models to see how it works, and then maybe, if the funding is there, they'll do some additional physical testing, or sometimes they'll just like, nope, it works in model. Let's go ahead and build it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I get it. We are already using a lot of tools. We've already been using a lot of stuff that has worked, and sometimes things that we think are going to happen faster haven't happened yet. But it's going to happen. You know, I think there's things that have happened in the last few years that people didn't expect to happen for another 10 years or 15 or 20, you know, so who the hell knows anymore? I don't know. I don't know if anybody can say for sure. But yeah, I think I want to talk about something else. I don't know. There's nothing more I can say that isn't going to be depressing from my point of view, unless Eli has a different perspective.
No, nothing more than I've said. You know, we've talked about it a little already.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Krabs, was there anything else you want to add before I let you go?
I would just say that, you know, it's a tool, and if we figure out how to actually use it responsibly, it actually can be a very big benefit. Like right now, everything seems down because we're looking at it through the lens of the right now. And so that's why things kind of look a little bleak. But once we actually learn how to be responsible with it, I think that it will take us to places we never even thought possible.
Yeah. Once human beings learn to be responsible with it, yeah, sure. Yeah. I hear you. I'm sorry. I'm being a real pessimist right here, Mr. Krabs, but yes, I can be optimistic. Sure. It's definitely going to do some amazing things, but we have yet to even imagine the horrors that we could beset upon mankind with tools that we are currently developing, I think. But anyway, thanks for calling, Mr. Krabs. I do appreciate it. Here's the thing. Here's my real take on this. We have to radically change our society, and not just our political system. Our economic system has to be completely different within the next, I don't know, decade maybe. But otherwise, it's going to be untold destruction for people's lives. I think it's going to be a huge dramatic shift once people figure out how to get this stuff, how to get it cheap, and how to replace people. You know, it's already kind of happening, and I think it's just going to get worse until we make systems like, I don't know, universal basic income kind of become a reality. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Eli?
Yeah. Well, as you were saying that, I'm like, well, yeah, it's already like the way that banks use interest rates to combat inflation is not working anymore. And people are like overspending, like basically spending debt to like pay the bills, and then they can't pay back the debt because they still have the bills to pay while they're trying to pay back the debt, and it's just not working anymore. And my brother has been talking to me a lot about, he's been looking into economics, and he's like, if it doesn't collapse like in the next few years, then they fixed it. So one of those two things is going to happen.
Cool.
Apparently.
Very cool. Very awesome. Because we've never crashed our economy before.
Yeah.
And it's always been, we've always had good intentions with every transaction we do as well. I don't know. Okay, so I think we do have one other voicemail that we can get to. So let's go ahead and get that revved up. Nope, not ready just yet, but we will get to it maybe later on. But we do have some open lines still right now, folks. So please give me your feedback, give me your thoughts. Doesn't have to be about AI, but want to talk to you about what's going on. Are people in your life believing stuff that you don't believe in? Or do you believe in stuff that other people don't believe and you want other people to be convinced? Let me know. Let us know, I should say. And we'll talk to you about it. Right, Eli?
Yeah, man. About a week ago, I'm in a flat Earth group on Facebook. I go in there, I discuss it sometimes, and I dropped the link to the Truth Wanted YouTube page like a week ago, and I was like, call me if you think it's flat. Call and make me look stupid live on YouTube. Nobody took me up on it, it seems like.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it is like a smaller minority of people that like legit believe that an Earth is flat. So we may not just be hitting that target demo, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's probably more people that just convincingly pretend to believe it than.
Yeah, I think we need to buy ad space on InfoWars or something, and then maybe we might actually hit on the kind of folks we'd be hoping to hit with that. But
yeah,
I don't know. Turns out people don't always want to talk about their beliefs and then be, made in a clip on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
right.
People don't want to defend the things that they don't have a good reason to believe, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. I think also like if people will just pick stuff up and then they'll just leave it in their head and like not even, rationalize it out loud. I think I legit think that's part of it too sometimes.
You ever come across like one of those things that you're about to say out loud to somebody that a thing works a certain way, and then you realize that you were just told that one time as a kid and just never questioned it, and now when you think about it for the first time as an adult, you're like, there's no way that's how that works.
Yeah, that's a good point too, I think. Okay, so
it's similar.
We have some screenshots, I think, and we've got quite a bit for times like these. So I think we should go ahead and get a screenshot on the screen whenever crew can put it on there for us. Let's go. And it'll be there in just a second. There we go. Okay, so it's a one with me on it. And the comment says, this guy thinks Jesus is a wish-granting genie and doesn't understand that praying doesn't guarantee instant gratification. Ending hunger, we have that ability. Why does God have to fix every mess we make? Well, that's kind of weird, I think, because there are definitely been times in the Bible where somebody has prayed for some specific action to happen, not like a general, I hope I feel good today or whatever, but like, I want manna to fall from heaven, and it has happened. Like, intercessory prayer. Yeah, go ahead.
Aren't there passages that say like, just pray for it and like, you got it? Basically, I'm paraphrasing.
there definitely has. There is in Catholicism, there's the idea of intercessory prayer, which is like you pray towards the saints or you pray towards figures to sort of petition for you to God. And this idea is like one of, as Protestants often point out, not really a thing in the Bible, right? But also, it seems like every time people have talked to God in the Bible, like something does happen. Like, There are times where people have complained where God isn't listening to them, like in Job, for example, but eventually God does like show up like in that story. So like, I don't know, there is something that at least should happen if this whole thing is real. Then of course Jesus says, right, like if you can, faith can move mountains and stuff. Faith of a mustard seed, right, can move mountains and do things. So I don't know, what's the point? What's the point if the bird's not going to do anything?
Yeah. Was it Elijah or Elisha that called the bear out of the woods to just like maul those kids to death? Like he was like, hey, God, do this. And God's like, you got it, man.
That's another one too. I mean, like, sure, maybe it doesn't have to happen every time, but like it should happen sometimes, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's what I think. And as far as go ahead.
The point is, Jesus seems to be a wish granting genie. This commenter was mistaken.
Yes. Another thing too, like, okay, we have the ability to fix world hunger. Okay, cool. Why did Jesus like multiply food for people then? If it could just be like, oh, everybody else should do it, right? Like that didn't seem to be too much of a problem for him to do, right? I don't know why he couldn't just do more of that if he really cared. I don't know. I always think about that too. Why did Jesus specifically go to the Middle East, and just hang around a very particular area? Why wasn't he helping, other groups of populations around the world?
Well, he only had 3 years.
Only had 3 years. And also, I guess they weren't God's chosen people, I think that's another part of it.
Also that.
But anyway, all right, that was a good little screenshot there. Thank you, crew. We do have some other ones, but we do have another caller. So let's go ahead and talk to them. We have Ellen, who's calling in from Alabama. Ellen, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call. So yesterday, my good friends revealed to my husband and I that they no longer believe in the moon landing. And these are smart people. They're both doctors. They're raising a family. It blows my mind. They said they have good reason and they're going to send it to me, but they haven't yet.
Of course. I'm sure it's like a TikTok video. I'm 80% sure it's a TikTok video, Ellen. I think your moon landing, we talked about this at the beginning. Flat Earth stuff has gotten more popular. Moon landing denial, out of all the conspiracy theories out there that have like grown in popularity, that may be a top 5, if not number 1. For sure, right? Like, I feel like there's so many more people now that are like, no, actually, this thing didn't happen, right?
Yeah. You could probably pick like a person out of a crowd of like a room full of like 50 people. Probably one of them is going to doubt it at least.
Yeah. In America, I'd say, that's totally true. Yeah. I don't know, Ellen. That's really unfortunate to hear. So this was just this. Go ahead.
That was my next question to them was, do you believe the earth is flat? Because it just follows, like whatever your algorithm has gotten you into this loop of wild belief.
Yeah, give it a minute.
That's true. So like, I got to ask, were you just like talking about the moon landing? Like, how does a conversation topic like that come up casually?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. I grew up in Texas.
My mind. And what do you say?
Oh, go ahead.
What do you say? What do you say to them to make them, I don't know, like just bring them back down a little or question them? I don't even know what to ask.
I think people make the mistake, in my opinion, right, when you encounter a belief like that, that's pretty radical, where they want to change that particular belief right away, okay? And the problem is you can't really do that with most people at most times, right? Especially the more deeply held that belief is, the harder it's going to be to change people's mind. Now, if you're in a particular work context and you're working on something technical, for example, you're going to be way more open to other people's input because you're both looking and working in these kinds of things. But the thing about beliefs are a lot of people don't think through a lot of their beliefs, right? They don't think about how they get from point A to point B to point C. And so if you're not active in thinking about that, it's going to be harder to change that point of view if you don't even know how you got there in the first place. So I kind of think about it like, and I've used this example a lot, this analogy, as like therapy. If you're going to therapy because you struggle with cognitive issues, right? Maybe your sense of self-worth or, you know, whatever, usually you don't go to therapy and it's like, oh, I don't struggle with these thoughts anymore, or I don't think in this particular pattern that's unhelpful to me anymore, right? Usually it takes a little while. So like I would encourage you, if anything, Ellen, to maybe keep being that friend to that person that can talk to them about that belief, because the more that they can explore that with somebody who doesn't think the same way, the more likely they are to actually change it, rather than just say, oh, this person is crazy, I don't want to talk to them anymore about it, and then just leave it alone. Because that's when you get into those echo chambers. That's when people isolate themselves, and then they meet other people that believe in the wild thing too, and then it's just a cycle that keeps going on and on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, we would never stop talking to this couple. We love them and hang out with them all the time, but it's so wild because kind of he described it as he watched a video and must have showed it to his wife, and she chimes in like, oh yeah, it's convincing.
Oh man, yeah, that's really unfortunate to hear. What I was going to say earlier, and then I want Eli to chime in too, is that I grew up in Texas, and so I had the opportunity to go to Houston, and they have you can go to the Space Center. I even did the a space camp, like, staying overnight at the Space Center and stuff, right? I talked to people who worked on various projects at NASA. They actually have people who will go out there and like explain, like, yeah, here's what I did, like volunteers that used to work at different projects and stuff. So like, I don't know, I from a very young age got to like see how everything was done and the actual facilities they use and stuff. So it's especially wild to me for people to just be like, yeah, none of this stuff actually happened. It was all just, a movie set by Steven Spielberg or whatever, like just, crazy stuff. But of course, that's the world that we're living in now. I guess people are much more open to it not being the case. But yeah, Eli, go ahead.
I think what happens a lot of the time is like some people will hear about some details of the moon landing that they didn't realize were true before. Like, for example, there was a portion of the, like, when it aired, when it was on TV, the actual landing, there was no camera on the moon to capture the shuttle descending or the moon lander descending. So there was something shot in a studio that was played, but while they landed, until they got out and, set up the exterior cameras, and then they started transmitting images from the moon. And someone takes an interview of like Neil Armstrong mentioning something about that on Conan without explaining, and they're like, he admitted it, but then he goes on to, like, throughout the rest of the interview, talk about actually landing on and being on the moon and what that was like, and they just ignore that part. So there's this little bit of, like, you can call it like confirmation bias, you can call it it's some sort of logical fallacy, like, necessarily, but what I've noticed is most people end up like, okay, well, if this fishy thing is true, maybe I can't trust NASA. And I think it's fitting that your follow-up question was like, do you think the Earth is flat? Because that's where it starts. Well, NASA can't be trusted, and NASA says that the Earth is flat, or NASA says the moon landing is real. And it becomes one of those like, well, whatever they say must be wrong. So if it doesn't matter who they are, if they're saying it, it's wrong. So whatever is the opposite of that must be the truth. And that's how we land here.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and it's so weird because we're all atheists. They don't believe in gods. We don't believe in gods. I just always thought we were sort of on the same level as far as skepticism, and I guess not. Yeah. I mean, and they're in the sciences as well, so it's just wild.
It's another interesting thing. The more I've been in this space, the more I've realized that atheists are not as smart as they think they are a lot of times. I'm sorry, it's true. They're not as skeptical. They really aren't as thoroughly thought through on some of this stuff. I mean, I think what part of it is you just become we live in a society that really values domain experts, right? Our economy is based on people who the more expert they are in their domain, the more money they usually get on something, right? And so like people are driven towards that. And the more you learn about a particular thing, the more confident you probably are in yourself and how you interact with things. And you apply that confidence to other things that you maybe don't know much about. And suddenly you have all kinds of grifters and people who are actively promoting BS that they don't even realize isn't even true, because they just think that they're the smartest thing in the world. And yeah, I've definitely talked to other atheists that believe in all kinds of things that I definitely don't think is true, but it happens. It's out there. So, well, Ellen, that's a sad thing to hear, but I encourage you, as you mentioned, maybe if you keep having those conversations, you can call back and say, hey, I kind of changed their mind, or if they changed their mind on this. I would like to hear an update on that in the future. But for now, I will go ahead and let you go. Thanks so much for calling in and giving us something to talk about here. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and yeah, enjoy life. Be more positive than I've been so far on this show. But yeah, Eli, what did you think of that call?
Pessimistic show. It reminded me, I think the way those things come up surprises you, because I don't remember what I was at work like last year talking to somebody about something like about the planets, about Mars, I think. I don't remember specifically. And then another guy goes, you guys still believe in planets? And like, he wasn't kidding. And then finally later on, like, okay, like he does think the Earth is flat. I'm like, okay. And we talked about it a few times, and eventually I'm just like, I can't have this conversation anymore. Like it frustrates me a little bit when I try to like explain things. Like one of the big things is like gravity is not real. But my point is basically just that the way those things come up will surprise you sometimes. So because Ellen said she didn't remember like how it came up, and that's I can see why that was the case, because it's just so random and it catches you off guard.
Here's another thing too, right? When you become interested in a topic, or you're getting involved in some of those communities, they're probably testing the waters with Ellen in some way too, right? Like they want to be able to find other people to talk about some of these ideas with too, because they know that they challenge norms in some ways, right? Like I think people sometimes are just putting that stuff out there to see if they can find other people that agree with them on.
No, actually that's a good point.
But
yeah.
Yep. So that's really fun. Let's go ahead and get to another caller, though. We have Jeff, who is calling in from Ohio, who thinks AI should be regulated to prevent the avoidance of responsibility for dangerous decisions. Interesting. Jeff, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, guys. So I could give you a million reasons why I think AI should be regulated, but let's stick with that one for now. My biggest concern would be that when an algorithm makes a poor choice and somebody dies, who do you hold responsible?
Yeah, that's a pretty succinct way to put it.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. What do you do in that circumstance? Yeah, I don't know. I like you should give a good example of how that can happen for people, I think. Do you have one?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Self-driving cars, right?
Yeah.
You have some bad recognition algorithm, and it runs over a kid. Several people have been killed by self-driving cars, if I recall correctly, already. And to some extent, they tried to lay the blame at the feet of the people who were supposed to be operating the vehicles because they failed to intervene or whatever. They got too comfortable. But to me, that's really a failure to deliver on the promise of a self-driving vehicle, right? So to give somebody the ability to put their attention elsewhere and relax behind the wheel, and then say, well, it was your fault for relaxing on the wheel. Sorry, I don't buy it. I think this ties into another reason that you might want to regulate AI. Namely, you can do very, very dangerous things with it. I think the most obvious reason you might want to regulate AI is to prevent it from being used to harm people specifically. And I think that this has been an issue before people became familiarized with large language models, and we started to have this hype storm around, Skynet or whatever. They were using AI to identify targets, et cetera. Letting an algorithm take the responsibility off your shoulders for deciding whether or not this is the person you're supposed to kill, for example, is, I think, like a heinous neglect of duty.
Yeah, I agree. Now, people will make the case too, and they'll be like, well, once self-driving cars are everywhere, then we're probably going to have less deaths on average than we will with people driving normally. And I think that, yeah, we might be able to get to that point, but we're definitely far from that point. Right? Like, we only have so many self-driving cars out there. It's really not as much compared to the average population. We're already seeing a lot of these issues. Now, obviously, you're going to expect there to be issues even with self-driving cars. Self-driving cars aren't going to fix it, but we got to be safe with this stuff. We got to be able to make decisions for these things. And again, as you mentioned, how is accountability going to affect this, especially when it comes to like insurance and stuff, right?
You raise a good point. Mm-hmm. Suppose you're in a society where all vehicles are self-driving and you do have an accident. Nonetheless, who's to blame? Who's held accountable for that?
Yeah. Or not even just cars. What about ships doing freight routes, right? What about, planes that are driving people, there's a lot of different kinds of factors that I don't know, is beyond my expertise.
I'll tell you what, this is my area of research. And I find it really interesting the levels to which other algorithmic procedures had to rise before they could be incorporated in any dangerous decision making. So this is before AI. AI, machine learning, it's all sort of a thin veil over a common problem solving technique where you're just trying to write an algorithm that gets better as it accumulates data, right? But there are other approaches to these deterministic approaches. Like I worked in the oil, gas, petrochemical industry for a while, assessing fitness for service and determining whether or not things were going to explode or whatever, right? And when you would need to do a really dangerous, when you have to make a really dangerous choice, you would always rely on the highest fidelity modeling that you could in order to get the most accurate answer that you could. And the only reason they feel comfortable allowing people to model those situations and make those dangerous decisions is because they have provable correctness. You can show that the algorithms you're using will be accurate to an arbitrary decimal point for whatever problem you're positing, right? With machine learning, it's very hard to get those guarantees. People are working on sort of proofs of error and bounds on the error in these machine learning algorithms. But you don't get the same guarantees that you do from a more principled physics-based approach or deterministic approach in that way. So I understand the hesitation to use these things for dangerous decisions and dangerous applications, and I think they're warranted.
Yeah. Maybe it's like this, right? Where we have an accident with Boeing, for example. Right, when a plane doesn't work the way that they expect it to do, you have these gigantic recalls and you have these big system reviews, right, with a lot of agencies involved, with a lot of documentation. Maybe that's what it has to be for algorithms like this, right? Maybe that's what it has to be for any kinds of new models that come out for any kinds of big industry shifting, I don't know, or things where people's lives are involved with these kinds of models. Maybe there is a way that we can make it more, safe, I guess, for people to use these things. But that in itself, I mean, is an incredible amount of regulation, right? That seems to me to be the only real ethical thing to do. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't have faith that the people making those decisions, even at the level of regulation, that they know enough to be making something. Like some of the times I've listened to some roundtables and I thought to myself, like, none of these people should be making decisions about regulation. They just don't know enough. They're not informed enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe not hopeful though.
I hear you. To be true for a lot of things, I think. Basically anything people are making choices about.
Yeah, that's true. And I hear you, Jeff. It's like, who is going to be an expert on this stuff, right? Because, like, again, we already talked about this. You become a domain expert in one particular thing, and just because you know how one AI model works doesn't mean you immediately know how all other models work, right? And the intricacies therein. You can certainly have a background that'll help, but I don't know. It's just going to get more and more complicated from here, right? And we know how planes work for the most part, right? I'm assuming the people who build planes know how the planes work. As these models become more complicated, are we really going to fully understand how it's working? I'm skeptical of that too, but I don't know.
I think there'll always be more to learn, more to find out about it. But like, kind of like you were saying earlier, it's the worst that it's going to be right now. And like sometimes the result of it being the worst it's going to be is like, oh, it says a funny sentence that doesn't make sense. Sometimes the result is like it accelerates into the back of a police car because it's a self-driving car that didn't detect the car in front of it. So, I mean, there's different tiers of how problematic that can be, but it'll just keep getting better.
Yep, it's true. It's true. Was there anything else you want to add, Jeff? Oh, hello. Well, Jeff, we might have lost you there. But anyway, Jeff, thanks so much for calling in. We super duper appreciate it. And it's a great topic to talk about. If the crew has one ready, I think we should maybe get to another screenshot here. Because we do have some open lines. But if you want to talk more to Eli is going to be hanging out in the after show in the Discord in just a second with Callie Laughlin. I'm not going to be able to make it tonight, but I hope you guys have some fun. Link to that's going to be in the description where people can talk about what went on with the show, how the calls were, and just have some fun. It is not recorded, so feel free to come on by if you want to do that. That being said, I think we got another super chat. Actually, Hell's Bells giving $6.66, saying, sending all the love to my ACA family. Satan loves you too. Hello, Hell's Bells. I'm glad you're doing good.
Hail Satan.
Hail. Yeah, just hail Satan. There you go. Just put it out there. We might wrap things up just a little bit earlier than usual. I want to thank everybody that helped make the show happen this week. I want to give a special thanks to Eli as well for being on the show. Eli,
thanks for having me, man.
Of course, if people want to find you, where should they go?
Well, on the nonprofits, which you can find here on YouTube on the Atheist Experience Network. I don't really have my own thing. I have like a small, like my own little private TikTok thing at the Prophet of Ire, which I thought was funny because, but yeah, I mean, I'm that guy on basically everything. So if you want to, you can follow me. I don't do a lot.
Hell yeah. All right. Sounds pretty good to me. Special thanks to Kelly for hanging out as the backup host for tonight. And I want to thank everybody who's been participating in the live chat. I see all the funny things that you guys say, and it's a good time. If you haven't, you guys should definitely check out the show live. I think it's really fun to see what people are saying as the show goes on. And before we get going here too, I need to give the prompt again this week, which is what not to say when you're firing someone. So leave a comment below and we'll read the top 3 for next week. And I want to ask Eli about your words of wisdom this week. Let me tell you something. Eli told me before the show, he said, I have my words of wisdom ready this week. And I told him, you may be the first person that's ever said that to me in the entirety that I've ever done this show, because it always catches people off guard. And I don't know why, because I do prep people before the show happens, and I always say it's going to happen. But anyway, Eli, what's your words of wisdom for this week?
This is what I tell my son every morning before I drop him off for school. Do good things and learn a lot.
I like it. Do good things and learn a lot. Folks, we're going to wrap things up for tonight. Remember to always keep on the truth. I'm Objectively Dan, and I'll see you next time.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.